Okay, real quick. We're back again for our second segment with special guest Nicholas Zarilla and Patsy Zarilla. We're going to talk about La Liga. Let's recap quickly. Dante, would you do me a favor? Would you sit over there and make sure that the camera continues to roll? Okay. If you sit behind the camera, don't knock it aside, please. You can walk in front of it. Say hello. Say hello. We missed out on our comedy routine.
Hi.
There he is. Dante, the 9-year-old comedian of the family. But Master Patsy, we talked last week. We gave a keep an eye on that if you wouldn't mind, Dante. Is it on everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
Thanks. And still rolling?
There we go.
Is
Yeah.
rolling? Okay.
It's good.
All right. So last week we talked about the first week within La Liga, and I think we kind of foreshadowed a little bit with Barcelona. They opened the week on Friday night. They opened the league on Friday night as the first game, and they played Atletico Bilbao, and I think you were concerned about that game.
Yeah, and concerns grew into fruition, right? Bilbao didn't look good. Barca looked worse. Bilbao had an opportunity. They took it. They scored a great goal.
Fantastic goal. Aduriz,
yeah, great goal. Great build up to the goal. Very athletic goal.
Yeah. Nick, you were saying,
36 years old.
36 years old.
Yeah.
To pull off that goal at that age was pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
And you would have been a fan of it. You'd have been a fan of it had it not been. I think I have a premonition of what you would say.
Yeah, if they scored that goal against anybody, if they'd have scored that goal against Real Madrid, oh my God, I'd still be talking about it. But Barca did not look good. They, I'm hoping for an improvement this week, but if they continue the way that they're playing, even if it's just a slight improvement, I'm going to be very nervous.
Yeah, and I understand that. I do have a sense that Barcelona will improve as the season goes on. I think it may take them a few weeks to get their style down. I was a little concerned with their identity or lack thereof in this first game. Didn't seem like, other than the possession play, they didn't seem to have an identity.
They didn't have any identity at all. A lot of that possession was because of the way Bilbao was playing, right? They dropped back 10 sometimes. Their coaches could have gone on the field and played defense. They would have too. They looked good whenever they countered. They didn't look great except for one counter, but you're playing. You're Barcelona. That's you're going to face that more often. You're going to face somebody who wants to attack you. You should be used to that.
Yeah, and you were mentioning when we were trying to put this out the first time that Piqué was very vocal during the game.
Loud. Yeah, he was very loud. You could tell he was very agitated with how the players around him were playing. And again, you can make excuses for Griezmann. I don't think Griezmann had a bad game by any means. But you can make excuses for him because this would have been his 4th game, I think, total ever playing for Barca. The first real game. Literally everybody else on the pitch, they're veterans. They're not just veterans, but veterans of Barcelona.
Right.
They should have played far better than this.
Yeah. Do you attribute it to kind of early season stuff, or do you attribute it to the coaching? Because this might be a carryover a little bit from last year.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about that. Valverde's coaching style or coaching methods are not conducive to winning in Barcelona. I'll be honest, you got to say that good, that talented, even without Messi, and you're playing the Bilbaos of the world. I don't know how much coaching you really have to do.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're in the semis or quarters in the Champions League.
Yeah.
But unless you're playing one of the top 4 or 5 sides in Spain, Barcelona shouldn't have any problems with the sides.
No.
They shouldn't.
And Piqué after the game was really upset. He continued to talk, about the lack of effort and the lack of preparedness, I think, on the part of his teammates. I think he was upset with Ousmane Dembele for letting that goal develop with Aritz, because I think the fullback got beaten on the throw-in or got beaten on the sideline, and then it was up to Ousmane Dembele to kind of come in and help out, and he got beat.
So I'd heard he pulled his hamstring and didn't let anybody know.
Oh, wow.
And they were apparently very angry at him.
Yeah.
He never
So he's not in this week then, is he?
I don't think so.
I mean, that's one of those things, like, you like warriors that want to keep playing, but then if you're a liability to the team,
Yeah.
you got to remember the team. Right? You got to be a team player and say, I'm not up to this task. Get somebody else in here if you can. So
you know, at the same time, Suarez hit a post. It was a giveaway. Suarez just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Problem was, it was very obvious whenever you saw the replays that he had tinged something in his leg. I don't know if it is a hamstring or.
Yeah, he's also out.
Yeah,
He'll be out next game.
He'll be out next game.
is Messi coming back?
Messi will be back.
Okay.
He had a full training session yesterday and today.
Yeah.
So yeah, Messi will be back. So you know, Suarez had a chance to tie it up, but he did his hamstring almost immediately before the ball came to him.
Yeah.
He was actually walking back up the pitch. He wasn't even trying to beat the defenders back. And the ball came right to him. He turned around. He pivoted. That couldn't have been easy.
Yeah.
Right. That couldn't have been easy for him. He got a really good, really strong shot off, but obviously that leg, you know, was hurting enough and kept him off balance enough or whatever that.
And that could make the difference between the post or the bar and going under the ball.
Yeah.
Going in. So, okay, well, and I think just one last thing I want to say about PK is he continued to talk after the game, and I think he made a comment was kind of one of my favorite sayings. Translates in English to "we got our face painted." You know, he basically said, if you don't show up ready to play in this league, anybody's gonna come up and want to beat the crap out of you.
Especially for Barcelona.
Yeah. So I hope his leadership will translate to, you know, seeing a little energized side this week with Barcelona. Other results last week, Real looked really good on the road to start out. We were a little concerned about how poorly they'd played leading into the season, and they just kind of turned it on in week one.
Yep.
You were mentioning something about how Gareth Bale's
right? Like we said, if he continues to play angry, you know, he's going to be dynamite. He was always a good player. Sometimes he was a great player. It's very apparent the dynamic between him and Zidane is not good.
Right.
But he continues to play with that little bit of a chip on his shoulder that he had last week. He's gonna do some damage, and Real might finally look like contenders again.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, as a coach, and I understand personalities. Look, you know, we've all worked in the workplace with people that maybe we don't particularly care for, but you go to work every day, and you know, as a team in that workplace, if you can kind of put those things aside, it's a much better situation to get things done productivity-wise. Zidane has got he's a world-class player. He played for the Welsh team and pulled them up to the quarterfinals in the Euros. You know, so Wales making the quarterfinals mainly because of Gareth Bale. That's a world-class player.
Absolutely.
You know, and he scored that bicycle kick in the Champions League, not last year, but the year before, in a clutch situation.
What a goal that was.
You know, I think you got to kind of put aside the personal petty stuff and let the guy play.
Yeah.
He's better for your team.
I think with the personalities and the big egos that you get or you need when you get to that level, that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard to do. Okay, well, you know, there were other results last week, but let's jump into this week. We have games Friday night, the 23rd, tomorrow night. None of the two games that are on aren't really holding our interest, but just for the public, Granada and Sevilla and Levante and Villarreal playing tomorrow. Moving into the Saturday games, Osasuna and Eibar, but the first one that kind of catches our attention is Real Madrid and Real Valladolid. Real at home, following up last week. What do you think about that?
Again, you know, if they play with the zeal or the fever that they played with last week, this is a game they should win anyhow. This should be a walk in the park for them. But I think how you watch Real play, we'll see over the first 3 or 4 games of the season, is really kind of going to give you an idea of what they're capable of and how they're planning on playing and what they're going to be able to do. I don't see this being a problem for Madrid at all.
Yeah. Last week we kind of gave people a possible betting tip. I did. I think you jumped in on that too. If you're close to a place that takes on money line bets, where basically what that is you can put up a certain amount of money to win either a higher or a lesser amount of money depending on the odds. We recommended taking Real Madrid last week in that first week game against Vigo, I think it was, right? On the road. I think this is another week where you can look at Real Madrid, especially for their home premiere for the season, coming off a nice, 3-0 win last week, 3-1 win last week, and against Valladolid, who's definitely an inferior squad to them at every position just about. I think if you want to do a money line bet with them this week, you could possibly make some money on that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put up some money because I don't know what the I don't know what the payout is on, but yeah, it's probably a safe bet. I would think so.
We'll check it out before we finish this segment, but I would bet you're probably gonna have to put up 3-1, maybe something like
I would think so. Yeah,
$30 to win 10 or something like that, or
probably. Yeah, I mean, you want to invest in $150, $200, you could probably do pretty good.
Yeah. The other game is the other two games on Saturday that have some interest is that Celta Vigo team is playing at home again this week against Valencia. They did manage to score a goal against Real last week. They have some quality in their side. How do you think they?
Yeah, Valencia is a good side. I don't know why people keep overlooking.
No, I think Valencia.
Yeah, Valencia is a good side. They're a quality side. They know how to play. They played together for a long time. It really wasn't a whole lot of movement in their starting 11. As far as players going in and out. I could see them winning this game
on the road against Celta.
Yeah, I could. I think. I'm hoping. Let's put it that way. That what we saw last week was the Barcelona game was a side, two sides who really aren't as bad as one side showed and not really as good as the other side showed.
And Valencia tied last week, so I think that they were a Europa League team last year that played well in Europa League. I'd like to see them get it going, but on the road it's going to be tough against Celta Vigo. The last game on the schedule for Saturday is Getafe versus Bilbao. Getafe is at home.
Good game. Yeah, it's gonna be a good game. If I'm putting money on it, I'd probably put on Getafe. You don't think?
Yeah, I think I put in Bilbao.
You put on Bilbao.
Or some warm after Barca.
Well, again,
confidence.
Well, they'll have confidence, but I think Barca made them look a lot better than they are.
I would say this is one of those games I don't like to pick draws, but because it's at Getafe and maybe a slight letdown on the part of Bilbao going on the road after that win, they might know that they have the ability, but there's just that human nature tendency to kind of come out and say, look what we did last week, and kind of live off of those headlines as opposed to getting ready for this week and especially on the road. But we'll see. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they snatched a win on the road, but it could be a game to look at.
It'd be a game to watch. It's going to be
putting some money on the draw. Sunday's lone game that I think everybody has. No, I'm sorry. We have two games on Sunday that we were thinking about. One is the Leganes versus Atletico Madrid. That's Leganes at home.
You want to look at that one?
I think Atletico are my favorites for the Liga this year.
Mine too.
I actually think they did better than Griezmann and Joao Felix. I think they improved on them.
Yeah, I do too.
And I really think, I mean, how many times was he fouled? Was like 14 times he was fouled last week? It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous, yeah.
I thought turn them up.
Yeah, he's one of these people that the hype around him in Europe hasn't quite reached the shores here.
I agree. Yes, I agree.
But we're going to start to see it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they're talking about him being the next. We talked about this last week. Him being the next Ronaldo, and it's because of he's from Portugal. Yeah. He's got that flashy style play, but there's some substance to it too.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And let's not forget. You don't let a player like Griezmann go. Because what do we always say, right? It's not what you lose,
it's what
you replace him with. And
they knew what they had.
They knew what they were doing, right? Yeah. They didn't fight this transfer all that hard,
right?
So that tells you a lot.
Yeah. So and they had a lot of quality at other positions. They got good coaching, as you mentioned last week. So
they got Diego Costa, believe
They have a Warrior.
They
Yeah.
got a Warrior.
Yeah.
Check it out.
So with a team that's on the road, you might get better odds with them. To look at that money line bet with Atletico Madrid this week. Take a look at that. And then the last game on the Sunday schedule is Barcelona at home for their home opener against Real Betis.
I cannot imagine in this or any other lifetime Barcelona losing 2 games in a row, especially the second game being their home opener. I can't see that happening. With Messi coming back on top of it.
What do you think?
It depends on their midfield choice. If they play that midfield Roberto, De Jong, Elena they did against Bilbao, they'll lose again.
I'm concerned with
I don't think they're going to play.
Suarez being out.
Yeah.
Concerned if Ousmane Dembele is not 100% or if he's
Yeah.
out. I think, Frankie de Jong has to carry that midfield to some extent. He's new there.
Yep.
He's still got to learn, how he's playing with his other teammates. And that's why I think what I said at the beginning of this section, or this segment, 3 to 4 weeks to kind of get him integrated and get that all worked out. And then maybe get everybody healthy too.
Yeah,
So-
I remember Bobo Vieri at one time, the great Bobo Vieri, at one time saying the hardest thing to do in soccer is learn how to play for Barcelona. It's the hardest thing to do in soccer because it takes so long to learn their style. So hopefully he's on an accelerated learning curve or something.
He's a bright guy and he's a bright player on the field, so I think he'll be there. But it's just natural. It's going to take some time. It's not. I mean, you loved the midfield position when you played it.
I did.
It's
Same when
very-
De Jong played last week,
You're
actually.
involved
Number 6. Yeah.
all the
it's-
time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an important
Yeah.
position. You can't rest. You're running all game.
Especially as the lone transitional pivot player.
Yeah.
If he's playing at that number 6, he's alone.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So it's different than just kind of being responsible for one segment of the field, so to speak. It's like the goalkeeper. You gotta be responsible for every player out there. You gotta be vocal with everybody, and then the next person up the field that's kind of in that spot is that number 6. So we'll see. I mean, I hope they turn it around. I'm a little less hopeful this week because of the injuries and because some of the uncertainty that creates around it. But maybe because it's a home opener, there'll be enough energy to pull the other people through.
Can you imagine how hard it's going to be for them? Because you figure Atleti's got to win, Real's got to win. Can you imagine how hard it's going to be for Barcelona to have to make up 6 points?
It would be hard. My guess is the worst they'll do this week is a tie, but I can see a draw happening.
It's hard to believe that the second week of the season you need a win.
Yeah. But let's look at it this way: Bilbao is going to steal games from other teams too, but
Yeah, they should, yeah.
yeah. I mean, and as you go through the season, there's going to be letdowns for other teams. But the way Real's constituted, if they got their drama behind them, it's early to say that. But if they get their drama behind them and they just play soccer, they can be very dangerous.
Winning makes a lot of drama go away.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, any thoughts to kind of wrap up going into week 2 on La Liga?
It's a pivotal week it's hard to believe, it's a pivotal week for at least one side, for a couple of sides, to be honest with you. There's a reason that it's the most expensive league in the world, right? It really is. It's not because of the money spent there, it's because of how many points you need, or more specifically, how many points you can't drop in order to not only just win the league, but to finish in top 4.
Yeah.
So it's Barca better do something. Real's going to show you if last week was a fluke or not. And I agree with Nick. That's very hard for me to see anybody beating Atleti for the league title right now.
Yeah,
It's
I
only
think,
1 week, but still.
well, I think Athletic Madrid has a nice draw this week, and they're going to start off, even though they're on the road, more than likely they're going to start off 2-0. And then we'll see how things evolve from there. But they're young for the most part. They can probably hold up a full season. But injuries have their part even with young people. So we'll see how that goes.
You got a manager that doesn't drop points either.
No, he knows how to manage the season.
Yeah, he does.
So we're gonna see something interesting there as the season evolves. Nick, any thoughts on?
72 weeks in, it's Atleti's league to lose. If they get 6 out of 6 from 2 away games, because they haven't even played at home yet.
Right.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a team that, you know, if you looked over the last few years with the Champions League and the Europa League, who have played some high level games and played well in those games. So they're no stranger to rising to the level of competition and playing for what they need. Dante, from behind the camera, pivotal role over there. If you had to pick a winner in the Barcelona home game against Real Betis, do you think Barca can bounce back without Luis Suarez, without Ousmane Dembele, with Messi just coming back? You think they got a chance to win at home in their home opener?
Well, I mean, again, like I said last time, they're not really the best team in the league, but I said that last time Barca ended up losing. So, I'm not really sure what to say, because if Barcelona could win, then great for them, but I mean, I don't think they're looking too good now.
There's a lot of uncertainty around them right now. But it would be nice if they can get on track and somehow find a way to grit out a win this weekend and get back on track again.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think we all do. So we don't want to end this on a downer with that thought, but I think that the good thing about Barcelona is the tradition that they have I think all of the people in that locker room, there's enough of them there to say they're going to pull it together. Yeah, they know the importance of what, you know, we're talking about this here in a garage in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Yeah. They are serious enough to know that they don't want to drop 6 points behind. Yeah, so I think they'll do whatever it takes to pull off a result this week.
There's a lot of pride in that locker room.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah. So until our next segment, listen, if you have anybody who wants to cover next week in the La Liga segment, drop us a comment, send us a like. Again, I want to thank Roberto from Bergamo who was able to reach out to us on our Serie A segment. We will call shout outs if you respond to our segment here. You want us to cover anybody in particular in La Liga or any league, let us know. Hit the like and subscribe button to Butchered Sports. Follow us on Butchered Sports on our Twitter page or Twitter feed. Also, give our podcast, our parent company, a follow. Lessons from the Dojang and the podcasts. There are 2 podcasts. One is the Holy Shit podcast. If you're interested in current events in the United States at all with a political bent and some humor involved, follow us and watch and listen to that podcast. It's an audio-only podcast. Master Patsy puts that one together. And then you also have a Sunday video and audio podcast that's Mastering the News. Is that the actual title of that?
Yeah, it's myself and my instructor, Master Grant Miller. And we kind of do the same thing that Frank and I do on the Holy Shit podcast, only we do it from a more martial arts point of view, from a martial arts master's point of view. So it's a little bit of a twist on how news normally gets interpreted. Master Grant's very unique.
Yes, he is.
Very unique guy.
He is. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go ahead and follow that, watch that. It's always it's an interesting listen. It's an interesting watch. It's perspective that I think is important and needed in society, because there's always news coming at people from every source, but this is just like a blue collar, every day, every man, us just sitting there interpreting what we're hearing and seeing every day. But here it's all about sports, it's all about football, it's all about calcio, it's all about football, it's all about soccer. That's all you're going to get at this location, and that's all we want to give you at this location. And but follow us on Twitter. We'll time to time drop other sports, other information about sports. We'd be glad to give you our thoughts on the betting week coming up. If you follow the next segment, before that next segment starts, I'm going to get the line on each of those games we talked about, and I'll give you the money line on those 2 or 3 games that we talked about in our next segment. Even though the next segment's going to be on Serie A. But until then, peace out. Dante, did you have one thing you wanted to say before we leave?
Yes, and if you do enjoy this, please, after you click the subscribe button, there's going to be a little gray bell. Click it, and then you'll get notified on whenever we post videos. If you're doing something, you'll get a little buzz on your phone whenever we post.
Important information. Thank you, Dante, very much. All right, till next segment. Talk to you later.
See ya.